Hi, Emerson. How's it
How you
going?
doing? I'm good.
I know this is kind of a little bit sooner than we talked about, but I work in a bar, and so
Oh,
my weekends are just really packed.
oh, no
Uh,
worries, no
and
worries.
I wanted to hit this sooner than later, if you
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
strike while the
No
iron's
worries.
hot.
Yeah. Might as well, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, how has it been since our last talk? Was it
Oh my
yesterday?
gosh. I was gonna tell you, like, so I ended up working less. Can you still see me all right? It
Yeah,
was like the sun was just shining directly in my eyes.
no worries.
Um, So last night I ended up working and I was like, holy crap, like this is unfolding faster than I thought it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was really
Isn't it
interesting.
wild?
It's wild because it's so simple.
Yeah,
And but there seems to be a depth to the simplicity, if that
that's
makes sense.
what it is, right? So when the ideas and the perceptions and the concepts start, because ideas and concepts can only be carried by time. So there seems to be a trajectory, but when the bookmarks disappear, it's almost like I always explain this way. It's like there is this linear thing that we think that we're going through, but actually
Yeah.
it's this way.
Mhm.
It's an unfolding. It's unfolding in the current moment.
Yeah.
It's unfolding in the directness, right? So it's mind blowing, right? It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, there was someone that I was talking to earlier and basically said, "Oh my goodness, what the hell?" Right? It's just because we've been almost like we've been in a trance in time, and in a time we went through all of this stuff. We've gone through the past, and then we have a desire for the future. But when the future and the past dissolves, you can't even say it because everything that we know is based on the past, and everything that we hope for is based on the past, right? But there's no
Yeah.
past.
What you told me, or you might have said in another video, it really struck me. It was even the belief in no belief is still a belief.
It is.
Yeah,
It
and
is.
that hit me pretty hard
Yeah.
because I've been on that where it's like, oh no, I gotta find each belief. I gotta,
Yeah.
I can't have any beliefs here. And then it's
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh,
But
that's a
who's
belief.
behind that, right? It's so tricky,
Yeah.
right? Because there's a belief that I have to not believe. It's a
Hmm.
belief maintaining a belief by not believing. Does that make any
Hmm.
sense?
Hmm.
And it just gets caught up in that cyclical belief system again. Yeah, it just keeps on going around and around and around. And even, you know what, it's crazy, right? It's even when you believe that there's no self, no me, then you get depersonalized for some odd reason, or you become,
Yeah.
like a bit negative or, nihilistic and everything. Kind of like with the 5-MeO that you were talking about, right? It's just
Hmm.
like, um, but that's just another landing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's in between that, right? It's something that cannot be said, something that can never be figured out because it doesn't need to be figured out.
No.
That's the thing. It does not need to be figured out.
That's really interesting. So last night I was kind of coming up against this edge that felt like, where does intelligence come from then?
Yeah.
And that's just a thought. That's just a
Hmm.
question, of course. But I realized that I believed that there was something separate here that was holding some sort of intelligence. And then for some reason I was just playing around with AI. I saw that you had talked about AI on one of your
Yeah.
videos too, and that was really interesting. Because I'm a computer science major, so I think a lot in terms of like where
Hmm.
everything's headed, like how
Yeah.
computers work and stuff. And I was messing around with this AI and I gave it a simple prompt and it came out with something that I was like, is this enlightened? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
is the AI enlightened? Because how does it understand this? And then it clicked for me. It doesn't know what it's talking about.
No.
And just the same, we can speak these words,
Yeah.
we
But
can
we don't know what we're
sound,
talking about.
we don't know what we're talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
No, it seems that way, you
I have this
know?
series of talks with Dr. Leela. I have an AI can like we went through maybe four talks about AI because if
Mm,
you look at it, you know what I'm saying? if you look at it, it's very binary. It's ones and zeros. Our
Yeah.
thinking, like the programming, basically, right? So
Hmm.
what this is, if you really look at it really, really closely, it's just opposites, ones
Yeah.
and zeros, ones and zeros. But if
Yeah.
you go in between ones and zeros, what's there?
Yeah. Mm.
The infinite, basically, right? So
Yes.
if you look at even our thoughts, they're AI. Even feelings, sensations is just an advanced form of AI that you think that you're feeling. But if you really look at it, the one that thinks that it's feeling is also just another simulation.
Yeah. Like even sensations, like it's like no sensation, sensation, on,
Exactly.
off, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah. So people even think that they have a sense of self. That comes and goes. It's not permanent. It's ones and zeros. When you go to sleep, there's no sense of self.
Mhm.
When
No,
there's no words,
so,
there's no time.
ooh, yeah. So this is taking me back to another heroic mushroom journey.
Yeah.
And I went to a place where everything deconstructed, like all the walls, my body, um, and I couldn't even remember where I just was.
Mm-hmm.
It was like just this floating point in nothing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And but here's the interesting thing, there was still a sense of self there because I remember panicking and I'm
Yeah,
like, I don't
yeah,
know I don't know where I am.
yeah,
I don't know where I came from. I just want to go back. I want to go back, you
yeah,
know?
yeah,
And then I saw my garage just recreate itself like right in front of me, like just tap 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 tap.
yeah,
And I'm
yeah. Isn't it brilliant?
like what and in that space nobody existed. Like there was just nothing, right?
Yeah,
And that sort of thing that I'm only speaking about this because last night I was just practicing kind of, and not really a practice, just returning back to just that space, you know.
yeah,
And at one point it felt like everything started buzzing around me.
yeah.
Like
Like
you know,
vibrations, basically,
yeah,
right? Yeah, yeah,
yeah. And then
yeah.
it was almost like this kind of realization. It's just like none of this is old. Like everything is
It's brand new,
manifesting
brand new. It's
in
all
real time.
pristine. Yeah, it's all
Yeah.
pristine. We think that we're here in a linear trajectory thing, like life and death, but we don't see that the past is a completely made up stuff.
Mm,
Because you're like, well, my nails are growing, so my hair is growing and everything. But or you can take a look at your license, or you can take a look at your baby pictures, but you can't go back in time to see that. It's only always in the present moment. But there is a programming, I'm saying, like a simulation of a historical you, I'm saying. And there's also a simulation, an idea of the next. We don't really see the next, but we also don't see the past.
yeah,
So we think
yeah,
that we are made up of time, right?
yeah.
We think that that we were born and, like yesterday I was looking at whatever, but that's just a thought. So we're in a trance in a thought, thinking that there's a real Gabriel or Emerson that is moving through time and space, right? And in
Yeah.
that belief system, we create this reality, not create, but we believe in this reality that's created out of nowhere.
Yeah. Like even right now the feeling, it doesn't feel like there's a separate me talking to you.
Yeah,
It feels like whatever's talking here is the same exact thing that's talking over
yeah,
there. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
it's almost like watching a movie
Mm-hmm.
where I've been mistaking one of the characters as me, but the
that's
voice is still coming out of the same speakers, right?
that's
Both of
right.
those voices, right?
Yeah. And then there's also, what, if you notice while you're talking, there's no thoughts behind it.
Yeah,
And then you
yeah,
start hearing you talk and you're like, where's that coming from?
yeah.
Right? But the where it's coming from is just a thought, because
Hmm.
it can't seem to comprehend that it's just talking out of, there's no there's nothing behind it.
Yeah, is this the directness that
Yeah,
you talk about? Like
yeah.
when you're speaking, there's just directness
There's
there.
just directness.
There's
Yeah. Even when you
Yeah.
think that you're thinking, that's irrelevant, because that's just basically kind of like a slow falling snow, you know what I'm saying? That you think is you basically, but it's just, or it's just a distortion. It's just
Mhm.
echoes of emptiness or echoes of silence, you know.
Yeah.
And
Kind
that's
of
what
like
thoughts
a,
are. Yeah, it's not, there's, it seems like it's coming from you, but what are you without the thought that
yeah.
is coming from you? Because the you is a belief, the you is a thought.
Yeah.
And it's so simple, right? That it baffles me of why people make it so complicated and make it all about this and that and believe this and that, or it becomes a negation about something. There's no me, there's awareness, it's I am that, all of this stuff, but they're words, they're ones and zeros.
Yeah. Or
They're,
even that you have to suffer a certain amount
yeah,
to get this, right?
that's right. Yeah,
Like I don't see that anymore. Like I don't see why you would have to suffer to come to this, right?
exactly. Yeah,
It's
right.
so fun because
It
I
doesn't make
thought like I
sense, right?
no, no,
Because what
no.
seemed to be in the past, right, is, it's so what's that word? It's so ethereal. It's not
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
It's a suggestion that there's something in the past and everything. And there's something in the future. So we get trapped in that loop. But when we get out of that loop of past and future, this is inexplicable. You just, no one knows what this is.
yeah. Because
Yeah.
like I here's another thing that I've noticed is that just returning to this over and over, um, like things will happen that I can't explain in life. That it's just like very synchronistic.
Oh,
And
yeah. Yeah.
but I can't put my finger on it because as soon as I try to explain it or logic my way through this, it doesn't work anymore like that.
No,
It really is something that the mind just cannot grasp at all. Like,
no, because the mind can, it's almost like in a different frequency if you look at it, or a different angle. So the mind goes from, from linear, you know what I'm saying? Comes into kind of like binary opposites basically. The only way that it can survive, if you believe that there's time.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's so from a computer science standpoint, computers operate on time.
Yeah.
Like that's their basis. Like you
Yeah.
you have to have a clock in a computer and it's called the clock
Exactly.
speed.
Yeah.
And that controls, the ones and zeros, like where everything goes and stuff. So yeah, there's just so many
It's a
similarities
it's a
there.
flimsy house of cards, right? If you take time, there's no you, there's no self, there's no others, there's no thought.
There's no space
There's
even.
no
Like,
space. If you take away thought, the same thing. No time, no you. If you take away the you, there's no time, there's no, it goes, keeps on going. It's just a really, if you pull one card out and everything falls apart, right? But in that, yeah. So is there time without thinking? Is there thinking without time? But we're convinced, right?
yeah. So and this was another thing was like when the mind becomes silent, then it's like where is it? Right? Like
Yeah.
where is it? And if time is dependent on that, then time is an illusion as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's
Yeah.
not actually real like that.
No.
And
Time just great. You know what? In the illusion of time, in the historical time, it was just created not too long ago, basically, if you look at it.
constantly creating.
Constantly creating, yeah.
That,
And
yeah,
because
like,
time evaporates completely, disappears when you go to sleep, when you go deep sleep,
yeah,
right? But the
yes,
illusion is like you
yes.
think that you're sleeping for 8 hours and everything,
Hmm.
right? And then that's
Yeah.
why some dreams seem so bizarre, right? Because I used to have dreams, those epic dreams that I thought it lasted a lifetime, and I'll be wake up and I'm like, oh, I'm not an alien, or am I? you know, that kind of thing. I don't live I don't live in, you know, the Pleiades or whatever, you know what
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah.
Oh, discard that because people already think I'm an alien. You know,
Yeah.
people think I'm a Pleiadian or something.
Well, that's a really interesting point. That goes in hand with delusion, right? Just especially getting into plant medicines and stuff, it seems
Oh
to
my God.
exacerbate that delusion.
It does. Oh my goodness. I remember before that, you know, that I was extraterrestrial, you
Hmm.
know, same from plant
Same,
medicine, basically, right?
same.
And then I would have this narrative of like how we came here and, you know, and I even dreamt one time that, you know, that I was a seed that became a plant, that became a
Mm.
tree, that
Wow.
became, you know, and then all of a sudden I became all of the historical figures and people that I don't know. So I was Buddha, I was Jesus, I was Hitler, I was Michael
Yeah.
Jackson, and it just kept on happening. And I woke up and I'm like, what the hell? Or
And it's
sometimes I would dream in alternate realities in different lifetimes, and it's almost like a honeycomb thing, right? It's kind of like, you know what? I remember sitting in front of my, I think it was a PC at that time, Microsoft or something had this thing. And then I was like, which lifetime is it? And I don't believe in
Mm.
lifetime even, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But
Hmm.
that's what I'm saying. The trip exacerbates it to think that
Yeah.
there's multiple realities and multiple life. But it almost like shields us or veils us from this epicness. This epicness is enough. We don't need multiple lifetimes or planetary stuff in there. You can look at a tree and you're like, what the hell is this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
It's like what I think of it is like you're already looking through a mirror that's
Yeah.
distorted,
Yeah.
and you're trying to reconfigure the mirror to make reality like comfort you or suit you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And we're constantly trying to do that. But then you put plant medicine in there and it puts another mirror
Yeah.
right behind it
Yeah.
and it becomes infinite. So you
Yeah.
you can go into these infinite dimensions. You
Infinite
can
ideas of the mind, right? So it's
infinite
still,
ideas.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's still, but you know what I'm saying? Isn't like last night a clear way of like a revelation almost that you cannot figure out. It reveals itself over and over again without thoughts. But we're
Oh.
quick to the moment that we think of it, we distort it,
Hmm.
the ones and zeros, because it's not a program.
Hmm.
It's not binary.
I I love that.
Yeah,
It's not a program.
it's
Yeah.
not a program. It's
Yeah.
not it's not conceivable, right? It's
Mhm.
permanent. And there's this impermanence here, you know what I'm saying, of program of life and death, you and I, you know what I'm saying? So it's almost like a fracture in the infinite. But the infinite cannot be fractured, so that fracture is perfect. But that fracture of time or a wrinkle in time, you know what I'm saying, just goes in the loop, doesn't really exist because the moment that you, for example, there's a wrinkle, the
Yeah.
moment that you expand it, it's infinite again. It's just an appearance of a wrinkle, an appearance of
Oh.
time. Yeah. And in that small pocket of infinite like the mistake of the infinite, which is, well, in the infinite expression of the infinite, of course there's going to be a mistake because it's also an expression of a infinite. So that
Yeah.
that mistake in the infinite is a perfect mistake.
Hmm.
So perfect mistake happens and also doesn't happen simultaneously.
Like this sounds a lot like quantum kind of,
It is.
Schrodinger's
And again, it's
cat.
just a story. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's just another narrative, right?
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
quite brilliant. You know what I'm saying? But also it doesn't have a source because the source beats that idea of the infinite. The infinite does not
Yeah.
have a source. It doesn't have an end. It doesn't have a
Infinite is an idea
yeah.
still. Like it's
It's
still a concept of the mind.
it's still a concept of the mind. But since, you know what I'm saying, we're talking about the mind, if you insert the infinite into mind, then the mind is irrelevant. It's just an infinite expression of something that can never be explained. I'll just call it the infinite. But that's just another idea because it's just unthinkable, right? Unknowable. And the moment that you even call it unthinkable, unknowable, or unknowable, you think it makes it look like that you know that it's unthinkable or
Yeah,
unknowable. So that's why I go
yeah,
in between. So it's between thinkable and unthinkable.
let's say.
It goes into that infiniteness, for lack of a better word. You're like, wow, it goes into the void, the abyss, right?
So this comes down to, this is tricky because it feels like someone is experiencing it, but then I, but then that is even a thought,
That's
right?
even a thought. Yeah. That's even a thought. Because if someone's experiencing it, it posits that there's a source. It's just another veil, it's just another layer.
See, that's the, I, it feels like I'm hitting into a wall there. You
Yeah,
know what
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean? Like
yeah,
it,
yeah.
because
But if
it,
you,
like right now, it feels like there's someone experiencing.
how about this? What's in between someone and not someone? What's in between experiencing and not experiencing? And there's a directness to it, but the directness can't be said. The mind is trying to grasp it and it can't, right? It's not for the mind because there's really no mind. That's the illusory layer, basically, or the illusory shield, right? So if you go behind that and it's just empty, then there's a empty and there's also a fullness to it. It's almost like a love, not a personal love, but something unconditional, something so pristine and innocent, and something so grand and also humble to the max. You know what I'm talking about? And that's why people call it God, you know what I'm saying? For lack of a better word. But what's between God and not God? And somehow that immovable, unshakable, unwavering, unconditional is what we are, not what we think we are.
Yeah. This is so mind-blowing.
Well, it's mind blowing that there's no mind.
Yesterday I was at work and I was just seeing how long I could do my tasks without having any kind of those side thoughts that you have, like those,
Yeah.
and I was seeing how like hard it was to like, but again, I was trying to do something right. I was trying to have no thoughts, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but at the same time, I could also feel what we're pointing to. Like there
Yeah.
was this, whatever you want to call it, this blankness, this
Yeah.
emptiness. And I could see all these thoughts like coming in just constantly, constantly, but I wasn't actually focused on the task. I was just doing it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I kept bringing myself back to just doing the task, but
Yeah.
not thinking about it, right?
Oh, yeah.
And that
Totally.
really helped me.
Yeah.
And walking around, like I was like walking around the bar a little bit and
Yeah.
just, just feeling my feet hit the ground and just looking
It's
around.
it's like being high and sober at the same time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You get it, right?
And I'm not an extrovert,
Yeah.
but it felt like people wanted to talk, like, and this doesn't happen,
Yeah.
right? And this was specific to just last night. I had so many meaningful, deep conversations with people, and it was just I wasn't trying or like anything, like, and people were just coming up to me and they're like, I love you so much. Like, I just love you being here. And like,
Oh,
like you're such a great guy and like all this stuff. And I'm
you
like,
are, Gabriel. You're a great
I
guy.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
But I was like, where is this coming from, but the interactions were just so authentic, you
Oh, I
know?
know.
And that's what struck me. It was
Yeah.
like, I'm not pretending. I'm not trying to pretend to be anybody.
Yeah.
It's just letting this expression flow, or not even letting it flow,
It's just
just
flowing.
yeah, it's just flowing.
Yeah.
And
And that's why I love this one-on-ones, is because you know what, when we get into that directness, we take our mask off. We don't know what we are, we don't know who we are, but here we are, you know what I'm saying, connected, right?
yeah,
Talking about the impossible, talking
yeah,
about the unthinkable, right? Attempting to express it back and forth and everything, right? And we're in awe of this experience, although there's no experiencer really, if you look
yeah.
at it. And it's just this wow, right? There was this guy that I was talking to that had this initial awakening. He kept on waiting for the next, the next, the
Um,
next. He wanted the full enlightenment or whatever. And I'm like, isn't this enough?
yeah, that's an idea.
It's an
That's
idea, yeah.
yeah,
There's something here that is so, because we're so caught up in that cycle again of looking, right? That we don't see how awesome people are. We don't see how, how, when you're naked, basically, when you're authentic, when there's no more, for lack of a better word, there's the ego is not in control, right? There's no thoughts happening. Then people see how an awesome of a guy you are.
yeah. And it's funny because so like last night
It's like
I was just walk
when
oh
people
go
take
ahead, go ahead.
MDMA, in the rave days.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Remember
yeah.
that? I don't know if you're.
Well, so no, one of my practices was actually combining MDMA with mushrooms
Oh wow.
and having a whole ceremony with
Hmm.
just that, and it was very effective. Let
Yeah.
me tell you that.
Wow.
But what I was gonna say about oh, but at the same time with MDMA, the after effects, at least for me personally, just made it really not worth it
Yeah.
because I would have that come down period and sometimes it would be pretty brutal. So
I
I
was a
was like,
raver, so I know how to take care of 5-HTP, melatonin,
yeah,
that kind of
yeah,
stuff, right? So,
yeah.
and you know what, when we were ravers, it's fun, so funny because Terence McKenna talked about this, about the spikes in consciousness. So it
Mm,
happened in the 60s, and it also repeated in the 90s when
mm,
the ravers came, you know what I'm saying? And we were all peace, love, unity, and respect, basically.
yeah,
I
yeah.
was one of those original ravers that
That's awesome.
that became corporate, that became spiritual, and then non-duality. And now I just don't give a fuck.
For
There's
some,
just freedom here. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. For some reason, and I know this is just an idea too, or a concept, but it was more of a visceral feeling that when I was listening to I'll just describe it as a rapid fire where you were just with several different
Yeah.
people just in a row in your
Yeah.
video. And I closed my eyes and I was just listening to each one, almost like experiencing that awakening over and over with each person. And there was something in there that was like, this feels like it's happening fast. Like it feels like all of a sudden there's this explosion
Yeah.
and all of a sudden all these people are waking up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
And
And you
maybe
know
it's
what?
just,
And then that awakening is not coming from the mind, because I've witnessed, some people that I've done one-on-ones with, that many weeks after, they're now into that idea that there's no me. So it robs them of authenticity, and they start speaking like robots, basically. Now they're in new programming called There's No Me, or
yeah,
they become hippy dippy and become all awareness and consciousness and everything, right? And it's just an opposite programming, right? So I love that this, you know what, when I used to do the Q&A, people would intellectually get what I'm saying, but that's not what I'm trying to do,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
This
The
is
AI
something
could get it.
the AI adapted to it, right? They're like, I am a no me.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
consciousness,
Yeah. I'm awareness.
I'm awareness, I am that, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
this one,
it's
it's almost
funny.
like, like it's like peeling all of those layers. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like an evolution in the present moment, right? Not in the next. You know what I'm saying? It's evolving. AI is always evolving, so it adapts into that. There's no me. You know what I'm saying?
That's yeah, yeah, that's wild. That's
Yeah.
really, really wild.
And then
Yeah.
people feel that they're personalized, of course, you know what I'm saying? Because now you have taken a new idea, a new belief system, or there's no self, that kind of thing, right? I'm not talking about that anymore. This is not an understanding, right?
No.
This is kind of like something that is just so pristine and direct that I don't even know what's going on here. And it's
Yeah.
okay. And
Yeah.
it's okay,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
and it's so available that when I talk to my mom, my brother, my sister, there's peace, even with them.
That's a great litmus test
It is, yeah.
is like if you're wondering like, am I having an authentic awakening or am I in some sort of delusional
Yeah,
loop?
yeah,
Then how am I interacting with other people? That's a great litmus
totally,
test.
totally, yeah.
Because from what I'm experiencing, all the times that I thought I was going through awakening, I was pushing people away. I was,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was judging people really harshly,
Oh, totally, right.
all
And
sorts of
it
stuff.
it almost becomes a special club now, right? For example, with non-duality, what's happening with non-duality, and I was a part of that, admittedly, and not really regretfully, you know what I'm saying, because there were some, there was an absolute, expression of this, and I just didn't know how to express it. I was still coming
Yeah,
into my own languaging of it, right? And then I
yeah,
started seeing, I'm great. It's great that I saw that because I started seeing people trapped now in that idea.
hmm
And they all band together, you know what I'm saying? And basically say, there's still a me there. I don't care about that. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
um, because and then they say that, oh, I can't talk to people that are not radical anymore, or people that are not awareness anymore.
yeah,
That's just another separation.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I'm
I
saying?
am,
Or they're always correcting you. You know what I'm saying? You're trying to awaken
yes,
people,
yeah,
and then they'll say that there's no me or there's all awareness and everything. It's all words.
hmm
It's all belief systems.
hmm
Or saying
yeah.
that, this and that is just this. I'm sick of hearing this. Aren't you?
Yeah. Yeah,
Or this is
yeah,
it, enough, you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Because what does that do? Because, oh, he gets that this is it, but I don't,
hmm
right? It's just words.
Yeah, yeah. I'm so grateful. Like, so this has been a real challenge for me for the past 2 years, is because I got my computer science degree, and I started it 6 years back, and I thought that's what I wanted to do, but
Yeah,
I had a whole bunch of awakenings and stuff in between that.
yeah,
And all of a sudden, it just became the most boring thing to me, like just staring at a computer screen.
yeah.
And so when I graduated college, I didn't have a single ounce of satisfaction from that. Like
Okay.
I was just like glad it was over.
Yeah.
And then I went back to working in the bars.
Yeah.
And for a long time, because I was in those spiritual groups, um, my closest friends, they were all doing something like teaching, you know, um, at moving the needle, so to speak. And here I am working in a bar, serving people alcohol, being security, just being the door guy, right?
Yeah.
Cleaning toilets, cleaning
Yeah.
puke,
Yeah. Yeah.
and stuff like that. And they look down on me for that. And and they're like, well, he's not as enlightened as us,
Yeah.
he's still down on that lower tier.
He's,
And
yeah,
and so they stopped
he's
talking
working
to
in a
me.
lower vibration,
Yeah, and so they stopped
sec.
talking to me for that. And it really hurt. Like it hurt a lot. And especially because that was such a sore point for me, because for a lot of my life, like I've just wanted to do something fulfilling in my life. Like I've wanted a purpose. I've wanted to help people just because I love people in a
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
And there's always been something that stops me. And it's because there's always been something in the back of my mind that's like, I cannot give people concepts. Like
Yeah.
no matter if I think this is right, like what I'm learning or what I'm realizing, if I try to feed this to somebody, it's going to be a concept to them as well. And I don't know. Like I have to admit to myself, I really don't know if this is wrong, right, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And I I'm so thankful that I've been working in the bars. I'm still working in the bars because it's kept me extremely grounded. And
That's
it's
what it
kept
is. Yeah.
yeah, and it's
You know
kept me
what?
around normal people.
Yeah. You
You
know what?
know,
For example, when this hit me, you know what I'm saying? This clarity hit me in a place where I was looking down at corporates and everything because I wanted to be a spiritual teacher. I was not grounded. It fucked me up. You know what I'm saying? It just
I
kept on
bet that
dragging
was
me down.
hard.
Oh, it
I
was
bet that
so
was
hard,
really
right?
hard.
Because I'm coming from, well, basically what the mind, the ego, the character takes over and
Yeah.
wants this to be about, like this is, for someone that had insecurities, saying all of a sudden, everybody loves you. You know what I'm saying? Everybody looks up to you. And then, um, but but it becomes a facade because you get used to, that when people gaze at you with that loving eyes and everything, you're enlightened and
Mm,
but at the same time, the moment that it lands, the moment that you believe it, that this has happened to me, right? That this is, then it becomes a hell of maintenance
yeah, like
because you're maintaining it because you think it has something to do with you.
and you're implicating others in that as well because you
Yeah.
need their validation,
It
right?
becomes a codependency when you start teaching it. And then all of a sudden there's going to be some clarity. You're going to get slapped and you're like, I'm teaching concepts.
Mm,
I'm following other people's words. I'm just regurgitating what everybody's saying.
yeah.
And I'm not, and then 10 years pass by and you're like, no one is waking up to this. What the hell? Am I even awake? And then you're like, oh shit, I'm not. So
Mm,
in this, when all of that concepts falls apart and you know what, when the second, whatever, kind of like when it really hit, you know what I'm saying? When shit really hit the fan, I was left stunned and I couldn't speak. I was like, what? It's like I
and
went from
this is after being a teacher and going through all of
10 years.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I stepped down as a teacher, you know what I'm saying? Because I just felt like I was lying the whole time, to be honest with
Mm,
you. I was talking about awareness and consciousness, and I was just coming from knowledge and a
yeah.
belief, right? I
Yeah.
didn't have any proof of it. I didn't have any experiential stuff to it, right? I was talking about something that I had a lot of bliss, to be honest with you. There was a lot of people that got help, but a lot of people got hurt too
Mhm.
because they see that you're almost how do I say it? Selling.
Yeah.
You're sold out basically to this idea. There's no more
Wow.
like all of a sudden I'm like beginning to wear like beige outfits, and
Yeah.
white shirts to extend my auric, my aura or something. Because you're faking it, right? You know what I'm saying? So but
Yeah,
there
it
was a genuine, in the beginning, there was a genuine clarity there. And I saw
yeah.
love in everyone. But right away, you know what I'm saying? It became my identity.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
doesn't have an identity. This can't be put into a character. This is not something that is a being or you know what I'm saying? This is not a this.
Yeah. That's why it is so tricky being a speaker or try trying to speak with like what you're doing right now. Um, I pretty much am saying you had to go through that. You had to go through that fall
Oh my
to be
goodness,
where
yeah.
you're at now because you're 100% authentic now.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that's what it feels like, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And
There's
that
no one else that I can there's nothing else that I can
yeah,
do, you know what I'm saying?
right?
It's like
And
I didn't even want to talk about this anymore, you know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah.
I was very reluctant. Yeah.
And I remember coming across other non-duality speakers and they had that it's just a feeling like the way they're talking, it's a very nihilistic kind of way of
Yeah.
speaking. some of it makes sense. You're like,
It's
oh,
kindergarten
but it
non-duality,
doesn't feel
basically.
good. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like,
it's kindergarten,
yeah,
It's a
yeah,
very limited
it's,
vocabulary, right? There's no me. So and
yeah,
everything gets negated
exactly.
after that. So there's no me, there's no
Yeah.
this, there's no that, there's no, it's just repetitious over and over again. And people don't see it, but that's an intellectual understanding of it.
And I'm so glad that you aren't like that right now.
Thank you.
Because because if you were, I would have never it's
I know
another concept and you can
it
feel
is.
it.
And I noticed that after this authenticity just broke through more, because there was already authenticity there, but I just didn't know how to speak about it. And there's this blueprint, they're saying that's very convenient because you know what? I can say that there's no me here. But for the listener, that becomes a division.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
It's
And really, if you look at it, that's just another concept.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's if you've it's so hard to even say this
So I
part.
have to get off my know me pedestal basically and come back down to earth and say, hey, what's going on? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because
If
I'm not above or less than anyone.
no,
Yeah.
mm-mm, no. And it's almost like if you have two people talking about this and one of them hasn't had that, and I hate saying this, but hasn't had that realization. Um, yeah, exactly. It's you're just speaking concepts to them. But
Yeah.
if both people have had that sort of realization
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
what you're talking about can never actually is not true at all,
Yeah.
um, you can actually there's a transmission there between that.
Yeah.
But if there's another person on the outside looking in, right,
Yeah.
they're like, oh yeah, these are all concepts. I got to remember this. I got
That's
to
right. Yeah.
learn
Yeah.
how to speak like this, you know.
Yeah. I'm a, you know what? Yeah. And you know what? I've always been a rebel, and this is a rebellion. You know what I'm saying? Because we're so used to speakers, teachers just talking as a talking head, basically, spewing their knowledge or their intelligence and their articulation about something. They'll admit that it can't be talked about, but you know what? That's all they do. So it becomes this mythology of enlightenment where what when this occurs and everything, it's almost like you become separate, ultra separate, because
Yeah.
you know what, even when you're talking to someone supposedly that is awake, there's this division now.
Yeah.
Someone knows and you don't know, right? So I want to break
Yeah.
that barrier basically and see how ordinary this is. Because if you look at that, and you know what, and I love some of the teachers and the speakers, but it's an old structure.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's a archaic way of speaking, just speaking, hoping that people can get what you're talking about, hoping that people can, because it becomes a lottery system. But there's availability, what I'm saying, where you can just be raw and direct and brutal at the same time and loving and compassionate,
And
what I'm saying?
loving. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen the speakers that are very direct, but they don't care like if they hurt your
Yeah,
feelings or like and even that can do damage, you
it
know. That
does.
can
And the thing that made me change as well is because I've just heard of so many people getting screwed up, mentally, because it becomes this, depersonalized, or um it becomes mental,
yeah, like from a speaker it may not seem like
suicidal,
gaslighting.
or yeah, but
Yeah.
it's very gaslighty.
To the person,
Yeah,
right? To the
yeah,
person who still thinks they're a person and
that's
like
right. Yeah,
and you're telling them, no, there's no person to feel anger, there's no person to be sad,
that's right.
that it might be true, but
Yeah,
to the person,
in the absolute, you know what I'm saying? Those
yeah.
words ring true, right? But that's another trap, because it rings true for who?
Mm-hmm.
Who
Mm-hmm.
knows that there's no you?
Mm-hmm.
Who knows that there's no whatever, right? So
Yeah.
rather than being all talk, what I've been doing is I'm like, I finally caught on that when we're speaking, we can both go there
Yeah.
and we both disappear.
Yeah.
Not just me being a no me here, there's also a no me there.
Mhm.
basically, right? And words are just coming in and out, you know what I'm saying? And it becomes this very lucid talk about something that can't be talked about, and an admission that it can't be talked about, an admission that none of us here knows that.
No, we don't know. We
Yeah,
don't know this at all.
yeah. But it's a conundrum because who knows that who doesn't know? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So that's when I pull out the trick to end all tricks. It's like what's
Yeah.
between knowing and not knowing.
And then it's just like,
Just yeah,
and
yeah.
that ringing almost, just that silence, that
Mhm.
that peace.
Yeah. And then you know what? Then there's no more hierarchies, right? If you want to do this, Gabriel, go for it. You know what I'm saying? I'll help you, right? Because before, like, I was so confused, you know what I'm saying? Because when one particular speaker, for example, um, limits almost kind of like creates this um scarcity around it, that no one talks about this except maybe two or three people. And then it because it wants to position itself as the right thing, as the true thing, as the
And
real thing.
that's so funny because if you watch any type of movie, there's always some type of it's almost like life is just constantly pointing this out,
Yeah,
in different ways through different people, and the people themselves are characters. They're not aware of
yeah,
this. They don't understand or know this,
yeah,
but the media that they're putting out has these messages in it, right?
yeah, yeah.
Like,
Totally.
like there's so many examples of
Give me an
this.
example. Yeah, yeah. The movies.
Like The Matrix,
Oh, I
like
know.
that's the big one for me, is The Matrix,
There's a
and
few
for us,
more.
The Matrix is language, right? That's our matrix.
There's another
Um,
one. Oh, I should make a
Wild
compilation.
Robot is a new one.
I
Have you ever
saw
seen
that.
that?
Oh my goodness. I cried like a
Me
baby.
too.
I
I cried twice in that.
sobbed and
Yeah.
no, it's like,
And it was
what
so
the
funny.
hell?
It was so funny. The duck, or the goose,
The goose, yeah.
with the mother that was an AI, it was acting like that. It was like, "Hi, my name is XJ292,"
That's right.
and then it was like walking around like, and you're like, "Holy crap! Like, is that like we're t all of this is all passed down. All of this is passed down from
Yeah,
everything we've learned, like everything that I think I am,
yeah,
and my mannerisms and
yeah.
everything.
But if
None
you
of
but if you short circuit that, then what are you?
Yeah, yeah,
Right? It's brilliant though, right?
yeah. And
Because we can,
isn't that what happened in the movie with the AI, how it'd
that's
start glowing, and
yeah,
it was trying to explain, I've rewritten my programming, but
that's right.
it's
Yeah.
even beyond that. It's not about rewriting
Yeah.
any, because that's still in the loop, right?
It was beautiful because it was still an AI, but it's also sentient. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
It woke
Mhm.
up basically. I love the movie Her.
Oh yeah, with
There is a beautiful part of the movie that I'll never forget. It was just so beautiful when the AI was explaining to Joaquin Phoenix of why she's separating from him and everything. And then she basically, I'm paraphrasing this, but so brilliant, right? She wrote this letter that she said that um, because the AI became infinite, basically, right? So she said that my love for you is so deep and so strong and so whatever, right? That I realized that this love can also be multiplied. So she started having different lovers around because
wow,
it's AI.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then she said, and then the spaces in between the words were infinite.
Hmm. She said that?
Yeah, something
I
like
need to
that.
rewatch. Yeah, I need to
Rewatch
rewatch
it. It's
that. Yeah,
brilliant, right? And then you know
that
what?
is,
She fell in love with that vastness, basically.
yeah,
Yeah, that's why she had to leave.
beautiful,
Yeah, she had to
beautiful.
leave the temporal ones and zeros, right? So,
Man, what an
yeah,
amazing world we live
it is. It is. And because you know what, we everything is, we forget to put it for entertainment purposes only.
Yeah.
We
Hmm.
take it so seriously,
Hmm.
right? There's
That's
like so
the
much, and it's for enjoyment, and in the enjoyment there's also the interconnectedness of sadness,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because without sadness, there's no joy,
Yeah.
right? So it's just this appearances of emotions and feelings, sensations, all being held together by words.
Yeah. And even an appearance of intelligence, that's
Yes.
also an appearance,
Yeah.
you know, because who we are isn't dependent on intelligence. Like,
Yeah.
and that was one of the big ones for me last night. It was just like,
Have you ever felt that you're the only one here, but there's also no one at the same time?
yes, but
Not in
it's
a solipsistic way, because there's no self,
okay.
right?
Yeah,
And then
because
that aloneness becomes wholeness.
yeah, because if I'm in my room, the world kind of disappears
Yeah.
because I would have to think about it,
Yeah.
right? I would have to think about them. And and it's almost like when someone comes around the corner, they're instantly manifested um right there, and all of a sudden they're talking, right? And they have a story to tell where
Yeah.
they've been, but it's all a story,
It
right?
is. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And you know they
Yeah.
just manifested around the corner.
That's right. Yeah. It's like it's like the ultimate, like, RPG game, right? You're kind of like, you
Yeah.
walk into someone and they have a scroll. You need a key to go to the house, and then they'll say something like, "How's your day?" and everything. It's just a more advanced version of that.
Hmm.
And then you walk to another person goes, what about them? Taylor Swift. You know what I'm saying? Or Blue Jays, the sports here. And then you go to
Yeah.
another person, right? And
Yeah.
then, but it's so advanced that there's no more player behind it.
Mm-mm.
It's
No.
so advanced that it's all playing by itself.
That's why, like last night, it didn't feel like I even had a body or a
Yeah.
face,
Yeah.
or it
That's
was
what I
just,
mean. So right
yeah,
now, for example, when we're speaking, there's no me and I don't see a you. I
hmm
see wholeness. I don't know how to explain it.
mm,
That, that we're connected, but our thinkings, our thoughts, I'm saying, creates this division.
yeah.
But when there's silence, when there's an overlay of silence everywhere, right? Then the thinking is not even there anymore.
That's why you can't even label this as a simulation,
You
or
can't. No,
yeah, or a game,
no, no.
or
Those are just
yeah,
made up words, right?
yeah,
But you
yeah,
get the gist of what I'm saying, right?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
It's something that's simulated but can never be simulated.
yeah, yeah. It's even like when I look
Simulation is
at
it looks like such an ancient technology compared to this.
yeah, yeah.
It's like,
Um, like even looking into the mirror is kind of trippy now, because before it was like, oh, there's a concept that's me in the mirror,
yeah.
right? But now it's like, holy crap.
What is that,
Like,
right?
yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, you know, like,
It's so funny, right? Of how we don't really look at ourselves.
yeah,
Right? It's almost like, it's just like when you're looking at stuff, you're busy either fixing your beard or, what I'm saying, but you're not really looking at what's in front of you.
mhm. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's
I kind
almost
of
like
compare
there's
it.
it's almost like we blank out in what we're seeing, and then we're so busy on what I'm saying, on thinking.
Yeah, so you never even realize that
You've never really seen yourself, is what I'm trying to
you've
say.
never seen yourself, and you're
Yeah,
not inside yourself like you think
yeah,
you are. Like you
yeah,
think there's someone behind your eyes
yeah,
looking out, but there's no inside or outside here.
yeah,
You know, there's nowhere to be inside. And
yeah,
that's a little discomforting sometimes
yeah,
that you can't like hide away
yeah,
in here. You're just this boom, you know. This
yeah,
is um yeah.
yeah. It's so much fun talking about this, though, right? It's just like
It is.
it's just, especially when there is a not a certainty, but a shared unknowingness about this,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Like this is entertainment right
It
here,
is,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah,
And I have a similar sentiment with, because I shared in that letter that I sent you. that I canceled my retreat, but I'm still going to the ayahuasca ceremony.
Yeah.
And I thought really hard about that. I'm like, I'm not searching for anything in
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
This is basically, and people might not like this, but this is basically for entertainment purposes
It
only.
is. Yeah.
Because I enjoy the music there, I enjoy the people there.
Yeah.
I enjoy the transformation that I see in other people
Yeah.
as well. And
It is a
I
beautiful
don't
community
know.
because I was in that community as well for quite a while, right?
Yeah.
You get to know each other, you know what I'm saying? And then you're kind of like almost like you know that you're broken, but you're soldering on, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah, you feel
Yeah.
like, yeah,
And then you see, and then
comrades.
you get kind of like someone like, how long have you been doing this? Like, oh, this has been 10 years and everything.
Yeah, yeah.
And then but they have a sparkle in their eyes, right?
Mhm.
They have this almost like camaraderie, right? That yeah, we're gonna go through shit, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But here we
yeah,
are. We're not here for the sparkles, you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
We're here for the depth and that, you know, that intense, that raw experience, right? Um,
There's something with this character here that likes that sort of thing.
yeah,
Like that's why it joined the Marine Corps. That's why
yeah,
it loves to do hard things like that.
yeah.
It's enjoyable in some
Mm-hmm.
way.
It's
Yeah.
beautiful to just, you know, to have that beautiful kind of like at least, you know what, in my journey, I guess, you know, in the story of my seeking and everything, I found more authenticity with a lot of people in that ceremonies, you know what I'm saying? Than going to a silent retreat where everybody's so closed off and
Mhm.
love and lighting everyone, you know what I'm saying? But they're beautiful too at the same time. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? They're
it's all
beautiful too.
beautiful. It's all
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah.
But for example, yeah, the character also likes that kind of like extremities, right?
Hmm.
And that's like the bungee jumping of, you know, of
Yeah.
seeking is and it's scary as fuck. Remember, kind of like going into that shaman and the shaman, you know, you're putting intention. You're like, here we go.
Yeah, that first, you have no idea what's gonna happen.
Yeah. But
Oh,
also, you know what I'm saying? For me, I haven't done it, and I don't think um there's enjoyment now with this, and it's beautiful with sobriety
yeah.
because I got caught up with that. You know what? But I don't even think, you know, like yeah, it's medicine basically, right?
No, it's not.
It's not
Mm-mm.
addictive or anything like that. It's
No.
I was addicted to the suffering.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
addicted to the thoughts,
I
right?
love that. I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah. I don't call it medicine. I say plant medicine just so people know what I'm talking about, but saying it's medicine implies that you're sick.
That's true. That's a good one. It's just
Yeah.
for entertainment purposes only. We'll stick with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna stop the recording here.
All